Time for a little biochemistry. What is ostarine? Does your body make ostarine from ashwaganda? And what is 19 norandrosterone? Well, let's start with the ostarine. Ostarine is what we call a SARM. That's an acronym, SARM. That stands for selective androgen receptor modulator. What that means is, well, throughout your body you have androgen receptors. So those are molecules within your body that will receive an androgen. So for example, if one were to take an anabolic steroid, these receptors are what will accept those molecules into the tissue and then have it take effect, which is growth. Now, the problem, as you guys know, with anabolic steroids is it doesn't just cause your muscles to grow, which is the reason why people who take anabolic steroids take them. It will also cause, for example, your heart to grow, and don't think you really want an enlarged heart. But that's just one of the side effects of an anabolic steroid that one would have to tolerate if you're, willing to take that risk reward consideration. But the whole concept of a selective androgen receptor modulator was that we could then target certain areas or certain parts of the body to grow and avoid having other parts of your body grow. So you should know that the medical industry's goal behind doing research on SARMs was to assist folks who are wasting away due to a medical condition, for example, cancer, or to help, say, elderly folks who fall and break their hip bone to recover and build back bone mass. Because as you know, people in those situations, they're compromised, their body's not going to generate more tissue that easily. So that was the sort of theory behind developing or doing the research on SARMs. Now, as of this moment, we have not reached the point where the medical profession feels that it's effective or reliable or passes the test, so to speak. So as of right now, 2024, there's no SARM that is FDA approved. So now here's the little loophole, is that one could still purchase a SARM if one wanted to on the internet, of course, but it's for scientific research purposes. It's not for however, if you do a quick search of the internet, I'm sure you can find some ostarine available. It won't break the budget because it'll be less than $100 for 25 milligrams. And I've heard dosages of using 3 milligrams per day. So for less than $100 a week, you can get your little ostarine fix. And another thing to note is that it sounds like it might be popular with females because it doesn't cause those male characteristic side effects that you would get with an anabolic steroid, like the facial hair, the deepening of the voice, Adam's apple, male pattern baldness. I guess men probably don't want that one either, etc. So, and in addition to that, apparently ostarine is supposed to help you lean out as well as put on muscle mass. So, considering the cost and what seems like the availability and the benefits, that kind of explains why ostarine sounds like it's one of those more popular gym bro substances to consume, especially for all the TikTok youngsters. Now, I should probably make a whole separate video on why it's a really bad idea for anybody in their teens or their 20s to take any type of performance enhancing drug. But that's topic for a separate video, I think. But sadly, that this is now a thing. So for those of you old school types, keep your eyes out and watch out. If you have a teenager in your house, like, just don't let them even consider doing any of this stuff, please. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what Osterine is. It's cheap, it's available. Did I mention it's available in capsule form, so you don't have to deal with syringes and injecting yourself? So all of these things probably make it a very attractive SARM for the body conscious youngsters to maybe take a chance on. But that being said, is it possible for your body to just somehow manufacture Osterine if you're also consuming ashwaganda? What's ashwaganda? Well, ashwaganda is an herb that's been used in Ayurvedic medicine for millennia, like since well before Christ. And the Latin name is Wildthania somnifera, if I'm saying that correctly. And since it's just a herbal remedy, it's something you can get. It's not a PED by any means. It's also known as Indian ginseng. But for example, you can get it in liquid form with a dropper. I don't know if you can get it in capsule form, but you can certainly get it in liquid form. Doesn't really taste that great, so I mix it with hot chocolate or something like that. Just try to mask that taste. It's on the same level as ginseng, if you've ever ingested liquid ginseng. But in any case, I'm gonna put up a couple of pictures of of the Osterine molecule, and then I'm going to put up a couple pictures of the functional groups, the functional parts of the ashwagandha. And what I want you to notice is that in the Osterine you see all those letters. So I'm not sure if you remember your high school chemistry, but basically those lines represent bonds between atoms, and everywhere you see a bend in those lines, also known as a vertex, if you remember geometry, well, anywhere there's a bend or a corner, that little corner represents a carbon atom. Now, just as a convention for molecular biology or for chemistry, we don't bother drawing or writing in the C's every time there's a carbon, because then the drawing just gets way too cluttered. That's why we just understand that everywhere there's a bend between two lines, that there's a carbon atom there. But everything else is represented. So notice that on the Osterine, in the Osterine molecule, you can see the letters F and N. And the F stands for fluorine, and the N stands for nitrogen. Now take a look at the ashwagandha molecules. Do you see any F's? No, there's no fluorine. Do you see any N's? No, there's no nitrogen in ashwagandha. So is it possible for us to make our body to make Osterine from ashwagandha? I don't think so, guys, because you cannot, if you remember your high school chemistry, you can't turn lead into gold, right? Like, you can't take one element, say a carbon, and just morph it into an F, a fluorine. That's impossible. you would have to be able to go inside the nucleus of the atom and change the number of protons inside the nucleus of an atom in order to change it from one element to another. And if someone was able to do that, they would have been changing lead into gold a long time ago. And just, okay, so I hope that makes sense to you as to why your body's not going to just take ashwaganda if you ingest ashwaganda and suddenly magically morph it into ostarine. Okay, so moving on to our third question, which is, what is 19-norandrosterone? Well, that is what we call a metabolite, which is basically something that's left over after your body uses something else. So in other words, it's like residue. It's a residue of, or metabolite of, norandrolone, also known as DECA, which is short for decadurabolin. Okay, so what is that? Well, it is basically synthetic testosterone. Okay. And you would inject that, norandrolone, and it's anabolic. It's people who do that want to build muscle, but it's also androgenic, so it does have those side effects I mentioned earlier. So if you have the metabolite present in your blood or urine, does that prove that you ingested the norandrolone? Well, I would defer to, again, somebody like Derek More Plates, More Dates to cover, say the probabilities or the percentages of or the possibility that you could just manufacture this metabolite without having taken in the norandrolone, if that makes any sense. Maybe there's a threshold, very small amount that your body could somehow naturally manufacture under extreme circumstances. But again, I'll defer to Derek More Plates, More Dates for the deep dive on that one in terms of that metabolite. But in general, that's how we detect whether someone's taken certain performance enhancing drugs. We don't actually detect the performance enhancing drug. We detect the residue that's left over once your body uses the performance enhancing drug. So that's just how the testing protocol works. So I hope that helped you out with if you had those three questions in mind. If you have any additional questions about this or comments or more helpful information, please feel free to leave that in the comments. And again, I thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you the next time.